Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brain Power with Dr. Echo. And today I have the amazing Michelle Riddle, and she's going to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you. So my name is Michelle Riddle. I'm an occupational therapist and a registered holistic nutritionist. I'm also a faculty member at Vancouver Island University and have affiliations with the University of Alberta as well. So my business is Resilient Health, and I'm the founder of the Global Alliance for Our Children's Future. And the reason that I have this platform is because, I've been working as a rehab therapist, particularly with kids for more than 25 years.
Wow.
And what I've seen over that period of time is that there have just been really huge changes in the function of our kids and their capacity to, make sense of the world around them. And as an occupational therapist, of course, the whole idea of sensory integration and the emotions and, being able to manage your energy so that you can do the tasks you need to do is a big part of, what I've been doing for forever. And so in the last probably 10 years, I've really taken a deep dive into some of the foundational pieces, some of the things that really make sense underneath. And then as we start to address those foundational needs, what I'm seeing is so exciting because these kids are getting better. Their symptoms are falling off the table and they're able to do so many of the things that they want to do with ease. So it's really an exciting process.
Yes, I'm so glad you introduced yourself because you did it way better than I could have, right?
Yeah.
You pointed out something that's so important, the foundation, because parents and kids, until we get our foundations right, we really can't build our houses right? Nothing we put on top of the foundation will work. And so that's the way I wanted to start thinking. It's how can we address the underlying issues that are going on and not pretend they are not there or not want to do the work to find out what they are so we can fix them, because nothing will get better, really. So can you tell us some of those foundational things that you found that you're working on with the kids that you serve?
Yeah, and it's been really neat because, I'm not alone in this journey. I mean, the World Health Organization in 2011 and then again in 2019 put out kind of a call to action for all health professionals to be able to really take a look at these foundations. And so they're looking at what happens when our kids are exposed to chemicals over a long-term period of time. And when that happens, there's really an inflammatory cascade that happens in the body. And that inflammatory cascade creates a whole bunch of stress. So stress is one of the first foundations that we looked at. And it's not just the chemical exposures that create stress. I mean, we have so many factors in our world now that do. So I look at, it's called sense of regulation is the foundational piece that I look at. And the first S is stress management. The second one is the environment. And the environment is everything that we come in contact with. And this is a thing, technically called epigenetics. So we come to the world with a package and whatever happens to us, with us through life, allows that package to either be its best or to, have the risk factors come forward. And so when we look at the environment, it's really important to take a look at the built environment. So again, what's happening with the chemicals around us, all the toxins that live in our world, but also what we're doing within our relationships and those connections within that environment as well.
Yes, yes. The environment, because it's not just, you said it so well, it's not just chemical environment, it's also emotional environment and physical environment and social environment. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And all of those things count. And the lovely thing about that fact is that you can impact any one of them and it makes a difference. Right. So when everything counts, that's good. Because if you work on just simply, connecting with your child more every day, that'll make a difference, right? And that's something that's free. It's something that actually feels good when you do it. When you consciously make that time, it can make a big difference in the general picture.
Yes, the next factor is just parents putting away their phones for a few minutes and paying attention to that child tells the child that they're seen, that they're heard, they're valuable, and it definitely makes the child stronger, like you're saying, makes the foundation stronger. So they're able to fight off diseases better.
Exactly, right. And when we're able to, really balance all of these foundational pieces, that's exactly what happens. Our immune system is so much stronger. Our whole body is more resilient, right? So the next factor is N, it's nourish, and it's nourish the mind, the body, and the microbiome. So we have billions of little organisms living in, on, and around us, more of them than us, and they're helpful most of the time. And so we need to keep them in mind whenever we're taking care of ourselves. Yeah. And then the next.
So sorry to interrupt you, but what are some ways that parents can nourish the microbiome? Because I'm sure they hear these words. It's like becoming words that are being used more and more in the society. But what exactly does that really mean?
Yeah. So that's actually a really fun one. And if you're wanting to spend time with your child, getting your hands in the dirt, and that can be in an apartment building with a pot and a couple of little seeds and grow some sprouts. That can be if you have any kind of a yard, getting outside and planting and digging and doing things. It can be going to a beach or a park and digging away. Dirt contains amazing beneficial organisms. And again, getting into that dirt, that's something that, if you live in a city, may not be normal. And so having, a fun time to do that with your kids can be really helpful for nourishing the microbiome. And as well, looking at the kinds of foods that you eat. So whole healthy food, whole chemical-free food is good for our bodies, our cells, the human cells, but it's also really good for the microbiome as well, because those little organisms need indigestible fibers. Well, you can only get those from whole food. You can't get them from the flour that's been processed. It has to be the whole food. So something like a raw asparagus is really, a great thing to be eating. Something like celery is a great thing to be eating. And anything that has those whole fibers helps to nourish the microbiome.
Right. And not just the microbiome, it also helps prevent constipation, right?
It does.
Which
absolutely.
we know will change the behaviors of the children if they're constipated.
Exactly.
That's another big one. Yeah.
It is another really big one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then the next factor is sleep. And sleep is something that when we get really busy in the world, we tend to not pay too much attention to. We all know that having a good sleep is a good thing. But for our kids, the quality of sleep is as important as the quantity of sleep. So young kids need really up until their teens, 10, 11 hours of sleep a night. And when they're getting that amount of sleep, if they're able to get into the solid, deep parts of that sleep, then their brain can process the information. It can store bits of information. It can link bits of information. So the next day you can do all kinds of things with that. And it can clean out the toxins that are in the body and especially the brain. So at nighttime, the glymphatic system opens up the brain, all the cells of the nervous system get flushed out, and all the waste products that have happened from all that thinking and playing and everything during the day help to get flushed away. Any of those toxins that you collected through coming in contact with different things throughout the day get cleaned out and flushed away. And so then the circuitry is clean and ready to go again.
Yes, and I often like to point out to my patients' parents that some parents are really concerned when their kids are sick and they're sleeping, and I explain to them that that's the body's way of shutting you down so it can heal itself, and not to be worried because their kids are sleeping a lot. And I like the differentiation that you noted, which is it's not just the quantity, it's also the quality. So can you tell parents some more about how they can improve the quality of their kids' sleep?
Yeah. There's two things, or maybe three things that are super helpful in that area. The number one, or the first two, actually, they go together. Is getting outside and active. So you get bright light during the middle of the day and you're moving your body. And so if you can get outside into nature, moving around, using your body, you're going to sleep much better. All of us are going to sleep much better.
Yeah.
And the light is really important. So if there's too much blue light near bedtime, then what happens is that the melatonin isn't released. And so turning off screens, 2 hours before bed, having it a quiet time, having it so that the artificial lights are turned down a bit, can be really helpful. And then one trick that a lot of families I know are doing, and it really does make a difference for some of these kids, is turning off the Wi-Fi at night. Yeah, because those signals, I mean, they're everywhere. We couldn't be doing this if they weren't, right? They're flying through the air, and our bodies are electric. That's how the signals come from the brain to the hand. And so if these signals are really all around the child when they're sleeping, they're stimulatory. The brain's picking up on this ping and that thing and whatever. And so you can't get into that deep sleep. So.
Yeah, I know. When I found that out, I was like, really?
Yeah.
And that's something that has come to the fore not too long ago, because I had no idea about that earlier, but I found it makes a difference. Actually, in my house, I was actually did a little mini study at home to see what would happen on the days I turned it off if the kids slept better, and they did. So
isn't that fantastic?
I know this does work. So parents, please turn off your Wi-Fi at night. That's another keep the teenagers asleep, right? Then they have no Wi-Fi to get online, and you see, it works out.
Yeah, exactly. And when it just becomes a habit, right? And it makes everything easier, because if you can sleep well, you wake up happy, you wake up ready for the day. And so you don't have these struggles in the morning. It's not, oh, we got to get ready, we got to go. It's a much easier start to every day.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely right. And so in your experience, the kids who don't sleep well, what kinds of behaviors have you seen in them?
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. So I do a presentation on this, and one of my slides gives the definition of sleep deprivation by several authors, and it's irritable, it is brain fog, it is poor attention span, it is moody, it is anxious, and then it gives the definition of ADHD. By several different authors, which is irritable, anxious, brain fog, right? They're identical. So it's really an interesting thing because we have so many kids that have difficulties focusing their attention. And we know ourselves that when we don't sleep well, it's really hard to focus our attention. And in Powell River, British Columbia, where I live, one of our clinics is really neat. They've got a prescription pad that has lifestyle factors on it. And they were actually helpful in bringing together this sense of regulation program. And one of the factors, of course, is sleep. So before they even explore ADHD from a diagnostic perspective, they're exploring sleep first and making sure that the child is getting the right amount of sleep, that they're getting the right quality of sleep. They have little packages that they give on tips and tricks for helping to boost sleep. So it's really, it's neat to see that again, that foundation, once it's there, can make a really big difference in how kids are able to function.
Yes, I mean, that's so important though, that they're doing that before you diagnose the kid, because that's the problem we're running into. Okay, here, hi, hello, yes, you fill out the form and there's your diagnosis, but really?
Yeah.
Now I have found out about all of these things I had no idea about as a conventionally trained pediatrician. Now it's like, no, let's talk about what's actually going on in your house.
Yeah, and that's
the nice thing. Your kid.
Right. The nice thing with doing that, though, is that, again, when you start looking at those lifestyle pieces, we did a clinical study there, and we found that when we address those lifestyle pieces, on average, the kids were improving their functions by more than 40%. That's really significant, right?
It is.
And once you make those habits, then they carry on, right? And that's what it is. It's a habit shift. At first, it can be difficult. It can be, a challenge to think of these new things, to try some new things. But once they become a part of what you're doing, it is your lifestyle. And I think there's more and more opportunities in our world for that now, which is fantastic. So yeah, it's super exciting.
Right. Yeah.
And then the very last factor is exercise, right? And that's moving. It's getting into nature. It's using your body the most that you can.
Right. And that's so important, right? Because parents, your kids want to play with you. And if they play with you, they connect with you. And it sends a message to them like, hey, mom and dad think I'm important enough for them to put away what it is, all the big stuff that they have to do to spend time with me. And children store those memories, and you'll be amazed what just 10 minutes a day will do. One intentional 10 minutes a day will do for you and your child. And the bonding that happens is like unbelievable. I have a 9-year-old, and this is his recurring cry. Mommy, play with me. Nobody has played with me today. You need to play with me. It's your turn.
Exactly.
Then we have to wrestle. And I'm like, oh my God, wrestle. Yeah. Who does that? But the times I have agreed to do it, it's been so much fun.
Absolutely.
The day he's listening. Like when I ask him to do something, he actually listens. It's like, I'm telling you, it works.
Yeah. And that attunement, that connection is huge, because that's exactly what it does. Like if you feel good with your group, you're going to want to be a part of that group. You want to do what that group's doing, right? And it takes that time. It takes that buy-in. And we don't base our memories or our connections based on the activities, particularly. We base it on how we feel. And if it's fun, if all it is that you have, an 8 or 9-year-old sitting on your lap and you're rocking back and forth and twirling them around and tickling them, and they're giggling and laughing, and that's going to make you giggle and laugh. And you do that for 3 or 4 minutes, fantastic, right? You put on some music, you have a kitchen dance party while you're making dinner, right? There's so many opportunities to just naturally bring these things in with your day. And then everybody feels good, right?
Right. So I'm curious, do you use music in your therapy sessions with your patients?
Yeah, music and rhythm is a big part of what we do, because the rhythm regulates. Our body is based around rhythm. Our body is based around cycles. And so when you can use that rhythm, it really helps to, again, lower that stress load. Our body knows the predictability of it. It can process in and around it. One of the exercises that I do, it's a brain body integration exercise, and it's with a couple of balls, and it's just simply a rhythmic passing, rhythmic bouncing when they get better. When they get really good, sometimes it's 3 and 4 balls, and it's almost like juggling. It gets super fun for the kids that get really good at it. But it just starts off with a simple rhythm. So you take the ball and it's pass and back and pass and back. Now this uses several things. You're using your eyes to follow the ball. You've got your trunk stability, so you need to be there. You are using both sides of your brain. So when you cross midline, both sides of the brain have to talk. And I found with a lot of the kids, they do this. They start passing right at the middle, that midline crossing, because they haven't grown up with the climbing, with the reaching, with the crawling, that hasn't developed for them. So both sides of the brain are not communicating as well as they can. And by doing things like that kind of a rhythmic activity, it builds their ability. It's simple, it's fun, and it feels good.
Yeah, it does. And you can even make a game out of it at home or in the car.
Absolutely.
Driving.
Yeah. You can add words to it. You can add, again, the balls to it. You do a bend, bounce, catch, pass. There's lots of, it's a whole, all kinds of patterns with it, right?
Right. Oh, that's so cool. Do you have another game you can show us?
Yeah. It's really fun when you do these games. One of the games that I really love for up-leveling just your brain power is, and it's a stress management technique. It turns on oxytocin. And so the game is to look at somebody or something like you think it's the absolute most amazing thing in the whole wide world. And when you do that, so I'm looking at you like you are the most amazing human that I've ever seen. And you actually are. You're pretty neat. So when I do that with you, right?
Right.
What do you feel? Right?
I feel good too.
Yeah, exactly. And so do I. Right? So it turns on oxytocin in me. and it turns on oxytocin in you. What that does is it does an amazing thing about connection, and then it just dampens down all the stress responses, because when you feel good, it's really hard to feel bad. When your stress has been managed, when the stress responses have been dampened down, your brain can now think, right? So that's one of the things that I like to teach parents, what I like to teach teachers, is that when a child is melting down, when a child is acting out for whatever the reason, look at them in that moment like they are the most amazing human you've ever seen. And it's gonna, whatever reaction they're having is going to abate much quicker, and they're going to be able to think and hear you and process really soon. You don't have to wait till they're melting down to do that. You can do that all the time. I do it in traffic. So if it's, if it's raining and I'm in a hurry to get somewhere, I will look at the headlights in front of me like they're the most amazing thing that I've ever seen. And that, just like, forget this stress idea, right? I'm running on oxytocin.
That's so cool. Oh my goodness,
so
I love it. I'm definitely gonna use this one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. When the patient is screaming in my office, I can take a look at them. Or even my kid at home, I can take a look at them like they're the best kid ever. And guess what? That's the thing that they are, and they act like they are.
Yes, exactly. And it just shifts everything. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was actually listening to Brené Brown yesterday talking about the power of vulnerability. And she was saying, if you dampen or you hide your stress, then you also dampen your joy. So I like that you're teaching people how to be aware of the stresses that they have, take care of it, right? Not just pretend it's not there, because it is going to show up.
It is there, right? It's a, those moments are highly stressful moments, 100%. But as a parent in a family circle, we don't have to wear everybody else's stress, right? And so when we consciously are aware that, this is going on, this is stressful, I can do something like this, then everybody can start thinking again. And that's good. Yeah.
And it starts with us, the parents, right? So parents,
exactly. Yeah.
I've been working on myself to stop reacting and learn to respond. So I started counting to 5 when I want to just say something, when my 12-year-old is being a 12-year-old.
Right.
Start to slow my horses, count to 5, and it's amazing how I'm able to just respond calmly. I'm like, okay, this too will pass, right? The war hasn't ended.
And that's what the kids need. They need safety, they need security. They need to know that, even though they're in turmoil, there's this emotional stability there for them, right?
Yes, and they're looking to us to provide it. That's the interesting part. So even though they are just waiting for you to just inject calm into the situation, and then they'll follow you. Yeah, exactly. Then if we don't recognize that and we're all going at each other, then of course.
And then it just accelerates. And then what happens is that when we stress, we regress. So all of us act like a bunch of 2-year-olds. Every single one of us, parents included, right? It's like,
I know. Oh my gosh. Is it okay for me to tell on myself? My 3-year-old the other day, I raised my voice a little bit, and she told me, "Mommy, you just broke the rules. My teacher said if you raise your voice, you broke the rules." I was like, okay, so I had a choice. Am I going to tell her, what in the world are you talking about? Or you're 3, be quiet, or say, that's right. So I chose, thank goodness. When she was saying that, I just went from 0. I just went down to 0. I'm like, oh my God, the 3-year-old just told me the truth. So I said, yes, you're absolutely right. So the next time you hear mommy's voice going a little higher, remind her she's breaking the rules, so she can come back down. It's amazing.
And what happened with your interactions then?
It was after that, we were smiling, we were singing in the car, and it was good, and they were good. So
exactly. Respectful, caring.
Because I can't tell her to be respectful and not yell when I'm busy, when I'm yelling at her. That won't work, right?
Exactly. That's fantastic.
So wonderful. So can you tell us the acronym again?
It's SENSE. SENSE. So it's stress management, environment for capacity,
Right.
nourishing the mind, body, microbiome,
Right.
sleep, and exercise.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. And
So
those are all just the basic foundations. And if you can find the balance in them,
right.
then so many other things are just going to fall into place.
Yes.
Again, it's that strong foundation. You can build a house that's going to withstand the wind, right?
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. And if we build our foundation, which is work on our brains, because everything we do affects our brains,
It
then,
does.
right? If we love
Yeah.
our brains, we love our life, because our lives will get better if our brain is functioning right, because
Yeah,
we're taking
exactly.
care of it. So Michelle, it's been such an honor to learn from you today. Can you please tell our listeners where they can find out more about you?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of neat spots. One is actually a free a workshop that's going to be coming up in October, and you're in it with us, which is
Yeah,
fantastic. So that's the Kids Brain Summit, and I'll let you put out the link for that.
I will.
And then the other one is www.ocf.global, and it's the Global Alliance for Our Children's Future.
Hey, so I will definitely have those links for you to get in touch with Michelle. She's amazing, as you can see. So thank you again for coming on our show.
Well, thank you for having me. And you are amazing as well. This is wonderful that you're doing this.
Yes. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.